Hello, my lovelies. Salam, chatorito. Today we're going to be looking at geography now, Iran. So there's been a lot that's kind of like happened recently. So maybe thought it might be a good idea, like maybe we educate ourselves a little bit. See what's going on over there in the big scary place. Let's just take a look.
Do not call most of these people Arabs.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Okay, let me break this down so you can quickly get the distinction. You've heard of Persia, right? The Persian Empire, Persian rugs, Persian cats, the Prince of Persia, which by the way, Disney got incredibly accurate. Yes, Persia is pretty much synonymous with Iran. Now, not everyone in Iran is Persian, but it's a huge part of their story, which we will begin discussing now. Okay, let's be frank. Iran seems to get their fair share of the news quite often in the Western media. However, conflict issues aside, Iran has a deep history and story in the Middle East that extends millennia in the past that would probably be wise to educate yourself on. First of all, Iran is located in Western Asia, bordered by 7 other countries, as well as the Caspian Sea.
All right. Just for all of my American viewers, this is where Iran is, okay? Familiarize yourself with this area, okay? We have been in this area multiple times, and most of us can't point it out on a map, okay? So just go ahead and familiarize yourselves, please and thank you.
To the north, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman to the south, divided by the Strait of Hormuz, which is like one of the most important sea passages in the world. Hey!
It's literally like where all of like the oil and things get shipped from, if I'm not mistaken. It's it's like ridiculously important.
To the south, divided by the Strait of Hormuz, which is like one of the most important sea passages in the world.
Hey, it's Arabian Gulf.
Most people have called it Persian Gulf, and it's been that way for centuries. Plus, Arabs have their own sea. Just let them have it. The country is divided into 31 provinces, with the capital Tehran located in the north-central region. Now keep in mind, before Tehran, Iran actually had 30 previous capitals throughout their history, more than any other country in the world. Otherwise, Iran also divides the country into 5 non-constituent unit regions for administrative purposes, each one containing 6 provinces, except for one region containing 7, which also includes the capital. Finally, although they are administered by Iran, the country also has a current dispute over the Abu Musa and the Greater and Lesser Tum Islands with the United Arab Emirates, nearby the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. After Tehran, the largest cities are Mashhad in the east and Isfahan in the center, and the largest airports are of course Tehran's 2 twins, Mehrabad and Imam Khomeini International, Mashhad International, and Shiraz International. Iran also takes ownership of about 30 or so islands in the Gulf and technically 1 island in the Caspian Sea, Ashur Ade Island, which however it's kind of more like a loose peninsula. One thing you have to understand is that Iran takes their position and borders very seriously, as they are kind of like a land bridge located right at the crossroads between the Middle East, the Caucasus, as well as the Central and South Asian regions. The most important and largest seaport would be Bandar Abbas, which also houses the Iranian Navy, located right at the entrance at the Strait of Hormuz. Otherwise, due to its incredible history, Iran is overflowing with landmarks and sites. Some of the top notable ones might include places like Naqsh Jahan Square, Milad Tower, Golestan Palace.
Oh my God. Look at that. Oh my gosh. That is just incredible. The architecture, the art in and of itself, incredible. Oh my God.
Persian Garden, the Armenian monastic ensembles of Iran, the tomb of Hafez, the Azadi Tower Freedom Monument, the Pigeon Tower, Yazd, the holiest place for Zoroastrians, Chogazanbil Zikrat, the Mayamand Cave Village, the Imam Reza Shrine, the Khaju Bridge, Argebam, the Shushtar Hydraulic System, the Tomb of Cyrus the Great, the Tomb of Daniel. Too many famous mosques and shrines to list, and pretty much everything in Persepolis. Iran was able to build so much of their own personal space, partially due to the fact that they were easily well protected by natural boundaries or barricaded in. You decide. Let's explain in.
Ooh.
You know what's funny? The world's hottest surface temperature ever recorded was 70.7 degrees Celsius in the Lut Desert in Iran, and yet Iran is also like the best ski resort area in the Middle East. First of all, Iran's
so
most important
interesting.
topographical barriers are the Zakhros Mountains in the west, which also contain the largest lake, Urmia, and the mountains also feed the longest river, the Karun, in the south, which flows into the Gulf, as well as the Alborz Mountains along the north, which contain the largest mountain, Mount Damavand, which is also the tallest volcano in all of Asia. Like, it's still active. There's so much mining potential
still
in these mountains as well,
active.
which makes Iran the largest producer of turquoise and zinc. Otherwise, they have two main
Hold on. So that volcano is still active. Interesting. That's crazy. I guess, I don't know. I guess I don't ever think about like places having volcanoes and them still being active for some reason, even though there's loads of them everywhere. Crazy.
Damavand, which is also the tallest volcano in all of Asia. Like, it's still active. There's so much mining potential in these mountains as well, which makes Iran the largest producer of turquoise and zinc. Otherwise, they have two main deserts, the Kavir and Lut, located in the central plateau. And the only real flat part of Iran is in the Khuzestan region right next to Iraq. Iran is right on the boundary of the Arabian and Eurasian tectonic plates, which in return makes Iran the country with the most number of major earthquakes, of at least 5.5 on the Richter scale annually.
Mine are bigger.
Yeah, well, mine are explodier. Now, Iran is kind of like this
Mine are
strange anomaly that
explodier.
sticks out from the rest of the Middle East because it has alpine mountains with flowers and snow and water and green, especially in the north along the coast of the Caspian.
See, I don't think people like, when they think of Iran, I don't think they think of this, you know? I think they think just like desert and that sort of thing. I don't think a lot of Americans think, you know, snow or anything. I don't know why, but like, yeah, I think that's just like an American bias. It's probably the same as like, oh, all Texans ride horses to school, that kind of thing. Like
Snow and water and green, especially in the north along the coast of the Caspian. I mean, sure, there are dry, arid deserts too, but overall, Iran is a lot more lush. This allows them to harbor river valleys for agriculture, which makes them the #1 producer of pistachios, saffron, stone fruits. By the way, Iranians love saffron. They put it in like half of everything.
okay. I can definitely attest to this. My mother-in-law's cooking, it is not complete without saffron in it, okay? Like, she buys like, it's like in like bulk. She gets them in like kilos, okay? It's insane. It literally is in everything though. It's delicious. Also, pistachios. We love pistachios. Love that.
Pistachios, saffron, stone fruits. By the way, Iranians love saffron. They put it in like half of everything. Speaking of which, some top foods from Iran might include things like pomegranate walnut stew, kuku, mirza kasemi, various rice dishes like jeweled rice, bakala, lubia, shirin, various kebabs like juje, kubide, torsh, and bakhyari. Desserts like rosewater pudding, khalva, sarshir, bami, nohodshi, and falude. By the way, half those dishes had saffron in them. Alcohol.
You didn't mention gormasabzi? I mean, probably doesn't have, you know, doesn't have saffron in it, but still, I feel like that's a very popular dish, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Sarshir, bami, nohodshi, and falude. By the way, half those dishes had saffron in them. Alcohol is technically banned, however, people kind of smuggle it in and have their connections. Even the cops are kind of getting tired of trying to crack down, and many just look the other way and deal with other bigger things. Two other things Iran cannot live without: tea and caviar. In fact, Iran is the largest producer of caviar in the world, mostly from sturgeons fished off the coast of the Caspian. Speaking of which, Iran surprisingly has quite an array of wildlife, including gazelles, wolves, falcons, storks, buzzards, and of course the famous Persian cat. Speaking of cats, Iran is home to some of the last only few remaining surviving Persian lions, which is, by the way, the national animal, Persian leopards, and yes, even Asiatic cheetahs.
Wait, aren't those like African animals?
Actually, a lot of animals we affiliate with Africa had historically roamed all across the Middle East and Southern Asian regions, which is why today we have elephants in India, rhinos in Indonesia. Unfortunately, most of them have been killed off or incredibly endangered. The more you, unfortunately, know, the biggest natural resource.
The more you unfortunately know. Literally, though, all of these animals, because all of that was connected in things, and they were wondering, you know, like, they were everywhere. But then, of course, we went and, you know, invaded on their areas, and we overkilled them and things. And now I'm sure this video is kind of old, so I'm sure like half these animals now are probably like uber extinct by this point. I'll have to actually look. Let me know in the comments, please. Thanks.
East and Southern Asian regions, which is why today we have elephants in India, rhinos in Indonesia. Unfortunately, most of them have been killed off or incredibly endangered. The more you, unfortunately, know. The biggest natural resource, though, would have to be, no surprise, oil. Iran is the second largest oil producer in the Middle East after Saudi Arabia, and about 60% of their total reserves are located around the Persian Gulf. It's estimated that the country should have about 125 billion barrels in reservoirs, 10% of the world's total reserves, and they pump out about 4 million barrels a day. That's a lot. So with all the geographic isolation but abundance of resources, you might wonder, what is life like in Iran? Well, I'm so glad you asked.
So, at least from like what my, like from what John's family has told me and things, like it's like in Tehran specifically, it's a little more, relaxed, right? But they're still like, you'll still get, like, they'll still track you down. Like, the police will still come get you and things, from my understanding. But I could totally be wrong. I feel like we have a lot more in common, the people at least. I feel like we have a lot more in common than we think we do. So let's see.
Now, Iran is interesting because it's caught in this strange new transition period in which everything in the new generation of millennials has a tincture of subtle defiance. First of all, Iran has about 80 million people and is the second most populated country in the Middle East after Egypt and has the highest number of Shias in the world. About 62.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, so you have Shia and you have Sunni Muslims, correct? And I believe, because Iran is mostly Shia, I do believe that majority of the like extremist groups and things are more affiliated with Sunni Islamic beliefs, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right, which I find very interesting. Like, I believe Sunni Islam teaches more of the jihad type kind of stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
2% of the country is ethnically Persian, whereas the second largest ethnic groups are the Azeris at about 16%, Kurds at about 10%, while the remainder is made up of smaller but noticeable groups like the Lurs, the Baluchis, Arabs, Turkic groups, and others. They also use the Iranian rial as their currency. They use the type CEF outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now let's emphasize this one more time. Persians are not Arabs. That's like the worst thing you can say to them. First of all, what is it like to be a Persian? Well, you kind of have to understand that Iran evolved a lot differently from all the other countries in the Middle East. History will take way too long to explain, but the quickest way I can put it, Proto-Elamites, Elam, Median Empire, Persian or Achaemenid Empire, Alexander the Great, the Seleucid, Parthian, and Sassanid empires. Islam enters through the Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate, Saffarids and Samanids come in from the east, then some weird splitting up, the Ghaznavid, Seljuk, and Khwarezmian empires, Mongols, the Ilkhanate, Timurid, Safavid, and Afsharid empires, the Zand and Qajar dynasties, quick Pahlavi dynasty, Islamic Republic, a little drama here and there, and here we are today. Now, the biggest distinction of Iran would probably be the language. The official language of Iran is Persian or Farsi, an Indo-European language also spoken in Afghanistan and Tajikistan, although they have their own dialects, which is completely unintelligible to Arabic. The second largest distinction would be that they are the largest Shia Muslim country in the world with doctrines that run their ideologies and legislation. If you don't know the difference between Sunnis and Shias, basically, Shias believe that Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law Ali was supposed to be the rightful successor rather than Abu Bakr, who became the first caliph. If you don't know what any of that means, let me make it even easier. Shias, this guy. Sunnis, no, this guy. Done. The interesting thing, though, is that Persians still hold on to a lot of ancient Persian customs and traditions that predate even Islam. For example, for over 3,000 years, Persians and other Persian-related people groups.
We celebrated this with my in-laws this year. It was very fun. They have like all of these little bowls. I'm sure he's going to explain it, but I think I did a little short video on it. I'll have to go check that out.
That predate even Islam. For example, for over 3,000 years, Persians and other Persian-related people groups across the world still celebrate Nowruz, or Persian New Year, usually on March 21st, or the vernal equinox. A mostly secular holiday, however, it actually has roots and is considered holy to Zoroastrians. Zoroastrianism actually started in Iran and at one point was actually the state religion. Persians also have their own distinct art, which usually depicts human figures more often than other Sunni cultures. They have their own traditions, clothing, music, opera, poetry, sports. I mean, polo was invented here, and they have that ancient warrior training thing. They have handicrafts. I mean, everybody knows that Persian rugs are like some of the most sought after in the world.
Literally, we have Persian rugs everywhere. All over our house. They are everywhere. I can't have any other way. Like, I grew up with Turkish rugs, in my house. So Persian rugs are what he grew up with, and that's what we have. And I could not live without them. They are top tier, guys. Top tier.
Thing. They have handicrafts. I mean, everybody knows that Persian rugs are like some of the most sought after in the world. But remember, not all Iranians are Persians, and some of these groups have expressed separatist movement desires in the past, but with pretty much no actual success. The second largest group, the Turkic Azeris, or Azerbaijanis, mostly live in the northwest along the borders of Turkey and the Caucasus regions, where their cousins, the actual Azerbaijanis in Azerbaijan, live. They are basically the same people, except one group speaks Farsi. Although exact numbers are kind of hard to estimate, today there are about twice as many to 3 times more Azeris living in Iran than there are in Azerbaijan. Then you have the Kurds that live along the west as well, and then you have the Arabs that mostly inhabit the flat Khuzestan areas by Iraq. You have the Baluchi people in the southwest along the border with Pakistan. Each of these people groups has their own language, culture, and history. Oh, and keep in mind, Persia is mentioned numerous times in the Bible. Iranian Jews believe that they are descended from Queen Esther, and they, as well as Christians, believe that King Cyrus was prophesied in the book of Isaiah. Speaking of which, although the vast majority of the population is Shia Muslim, there are communities of non-Muslims, mostly Christians and Jews. However, outside religions are strictly monitored and confined to only a few places of worship, as it is illegal to build churches or synagogues. Selling of literature is illegal, and apostasy from a Muslim is punishable, which is funny because just like in China, Iran has one of the fastest growing underground Christian communities in the world, and disputedly the most in the Middle East. So how does Iran hold all these people together? Well, in order to speed up the Persian assimilation process, other languages are banned from schools, and they have a system in which cooperation is rewarded and resistance is punished by the IRGC. So it's kind of like, join us and the rewards shall be bountiful.
I have my own thing going on, but thanks.
Join us and the rewards shall be bountiful. Speaking of which, the government is a little...
The accuracy of that, though, like, okay, one more time. It's the it's the manipulation for me.
Join us and the rewards shall be bountiful.
I have my own thing going on, but thanks.
Join us and the rewards shall be bountiful.
Honestly, though, America does the same thing. Okay, let's be totally honest here. Okay, follow the rules, everything will be bountiful. If you don't, you will be crushed. Like, let's be honest here, okay?
Speaking of which, the government is a little confusing. You have both the regular legislators and then you have the theocratic leaders. Essentially, the Ayatollah has the most power. He is not only the leader of the country, but also the entire Shia community inside and outside of Iran. He's selected by a community of clerics called the Assembly of Experts, whom also have authority to approve all of the presidential candidates during election time. From there, the president appoints people to the various ministries and offices, whereas the Ayatollah appoints the military leader and handles all other various duties. I don't want to say the Ayatollah is like the Pope of the Shia faith, but in some ways he kind of is. This is kind of where the Islamic Revolution comes into play and where all the modern drama with Iran kind of starts. Long story short, they took down the Shah, which they believed was a Western puppet figure, and then they instituted a more conservative Islamic republic. This changed everything. The thing is, this was all nearly half a century ago. Today, an entirely new generation of modernized, digital, tech-savvy Iranians has entered the stage, and the country is seeing a completely new culture shift that they can't stop. About 70% of the country.
Exactly. I think people forget, like, they're very in tune with things. Now, I know that the government does, like, kind of shield what can and can't, get through and whatnot, but they're a lot more connected than they used to be back then, like way back when. Like, they're a lot more connected now. I think that's something that is, like, it's a huge benefit to us that we're able to be connected and we're able to, actually see what's going on the other side of the world in real time. That's such a huge, huge benefit, I feel like. And something I feel like we need to remember is, like, these are not people that are uncivilized. These are not people that, like, they have jobs, they have phones, these aren't uncivilized people. Like, they are just like you and me, getting through life, All that separates us is, like, oceans and religions and cultures and that sort of thing. Like, which I know the way I said that sounded like, oh, it's like not a big deal. And I know it is, but like, you know what I mean?
Country is under 30 years old, many of whom don't really even like the rules, which means you have a lot of intrepid youths running the show now. Even the police are getting way more lenient because the police are getting younger too. Everyone in Iran is now kind of trying to find like loopholes and subtle cheats to avoid the religiously imposed laws. Although the hijab is required for all women in public, most women just loosely wear it, exposing their necks and front hair, almost as if it's like a fashion accessory rather than a religious article. Skateboarding, punk rock, and metal culture has already penetrated the youth, even women, although it's interesting because it's like Persian punk rock and metal. People meet at underground clubs and parties all the time wearing...
We're going to have to, okay. If you guys have any suggestions, Persian punk metal, please drop them in the comments. I would be really interested in doing like some reviews on that, okay?
whatever they want with open bars and music. If you catch them in their element, Persians are actually seriously like some of the most fun people you'll ever meet. And the crazy thing is, everybody knows about this. It's nothing shockingly new to the police or government. It gives them a little bit of a headache, but after half a century, it's kind of like, dude, whatever. Yeah, you didn't really expect that, did you? Persian punk rock rebels with hijabs and skateboards, right? And that's what goes on in the inside. Now,
oh my God, hold on. I need to see that one more time.
Whatever. Yeah, you didn't really...
Oh my God, that can't be real. That cannot be real. You know what? Good for you, girly. Good for you.
Expect that, did you? Persian punk rock rebels with hijabs and skateboards, right? And that's what goes on in the inside. Now let's see how they reach out. Now here's where things get a little tricky, because in order to understand Iran's outside relations, again, you kind of have to look at Iran through the lens of both pre- and post-1979 revolution. First of all, Iraq is sometimes called Arab Iran, although don't say that to them, as they have the second highest population of Shias and hold two incredibly important holy Shia sites. They've mostly moved on from the war in the 80s, and the two have good ties, mostly. Afghanistan and Tajikistan are like their cousins that have different political views, and it's awkward when they have dinner together, but nonetheless, they still mostly get along. Russia and Venezuela are probably the best friends outside of the Middle East, as Hugo Chavez frequently visited Ahmadinejad and made numerous trade deals. The Iranian car company Khodro is imported and partially manufactured in Venezuela, and Russia was like a key ally in many of the war conflicts post-revolution. Surprisingly, they are also one of the few countries that have kind of decent ties to North Korea. They've pledged cooperation in education and cultural spheres in the past. The Azerbaijanis of the north, of course, love Azerbaijan, no surprise. Bahrain is like Saudi Arabia's girlfriend that they keep trying to flirt with and steal. When it comes to their best friends, though, most Iranians I talk to have said probably Syria and Turkey, although it's a little complicated, especially with all the current drama going on. Turkey and Iran have more or less always been on good terms, especially in business. They are working on a plan to enter the European petroleum industry to rival Russia. Each country makes up a large population of tourists that visit each other every year. Syria, or more specifically the Syrian government, has more or less worked alongside with Iran numerous times in the past and has been a key ally not only in diplomacy but also strategically, as they kind of give them access to the Mediterranean. In conclusion, Iran is kind of like a land that is constantly trying to figure out a way to reconcile the revolutionary ideals upon a fast-paced social media-induced generation of quiet culture rebels while simultaneously dealing with outside stigma. What will Iran look like in 20 years? I don't know, but one thing we do know is that the young people will be ruling it. Stay tuned. Iraq is coming up next.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys. I think every American should learn some things about the world around us, okay? Like, learn about some of these other places. It is important. It is important. Because, like, I'm sure I said it, but, like, I'm sure most Americans couldn't point out where Iran is on a map, you know? And that's sad, right? Like, I know, like, what? Ted Cruz didn't even know, like, what the population of Iran was and is, like, wanting to bomb it and things. Like, that's insane. Why do you not know these things? First of all, you're a senator. But second of all, like, what? You're wanting to bomb them? You're wanting regime change? And you don't even know how many lives you're going to be affecting? How many people's lives you're turning completely upside down to do that? Like, just insane. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. All right. we're gonna do more of these. We're gonna do more of these because I think it's important. I think it's important for us to learn, especially us as Americans. I think it's important for us to learn about places that are on the other side of the world that we're, especially if we're bombing them and things. Like, maybe we should know just a little bit about them. Maybe just a smidge. Maybe. Just a thought. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. You guys get back to your life. I'll get back to mine. I'll see you the next time I record. Bye, guys.